here with my sister, Tracie Guy Decker, and she does use a hyphen.
And I am here with my sister, Emily Guy Birkin, does not use a hyphen.
I do not. Together, we are Lightbringers, where we investigate.
No, we illuminate.
Yeah, we illuminate.
It's a thing that we did.
It's a thing that we do because we're Lightbringers.
Right.
We illuminate the deeper meaning of the Crime Solving Devil TV show, where if you're crime solving, you're investigating, hence my confusion and need for more coffee. And yes, we're overthinking it, if you couldn't tell.
Always overthinking it.
Always overthinking it.
And so today we're going to be overthinking episodes 317 and 318, Let Pinhead Sing, and The Last Heartbreak.
That's correct.
The Last Heartbreak.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are interesting episodes. It's funny. My spouse came in while I was watching that Let Pinhead Sing, and like in the middle, and was like, wow, Lucifer's kind of a jerk in this one. And I was like, yeah, Lucifer's kind of a jerk.
I had a similar thing where my spouse happened to come in during the duet, the
I Will Survive.
I Will Survive duet between Azara and Lucifer. And he's not a fan of this show, but he's just like, that's well done. Like, I love the like, where's it? Well, now go. And like, he's like, you're in danger, and like singing until he gets into it. And I was just like, I know.
Yeah. The
showrunners really well done.
The showrunners really lucked out with their casting. That Ellis is also a vocal talent.
Oh my goodness, he's phenomenally talented.
He's so great. Yeah. So let's talk about Let Pinhead Sing. There's when I am overthinking it, which is what we do.
Yes.
So the sort of surface level of what's happening is that Lucifer has realized that he may be putting Chloe in danger by loving her, basically, because if Dad is angry, like Dad, the God, might take Chloe away by killing her in some way, like the bomb in the Infernal Guinea Pig episode. And so Lucifer is trying to divert his attention so that he can trick God into thinking that he doesn't care about Chloe, which just, even on the surface level, doesn't really work.
Yeah, that does not.
It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It, especially like, even within the universe of Lucifer, we have seen that the Celestials know that they can like reach one another by praying. I mean, maybe that needs to be intentional before the other Celestial can read their mind, maybe, but still, like,
God's different from the angels. Like,
yeah,
there's the whole omniscience thing.
I mean, they actually, and Lucifer has said repeatedly, you know, all powerful. Like,
yeah.
It just doesn't, like, the whole premise of why Lucifer is behaving that way just doesn't make sense. Though Azara says to Lucifer, why are you trying to convince yourself you don't like her? And Lucifer says, I'm not trying to convince myself, but actually maybe that is a more believable premise, that he thought maybe he could actually make himself stop liking her or stop loving her, so that it wouldn't be just trying to trick God, but actually be true. But either way, it was kind of a weak premise for the way that he behaved.
Yes.
I thought so. So anyway, that was my like main kind of storytelling critique of Let Pinhead Sing.
It, in some ways, it felt like there was a bit of they're forcing the parallels, because with the case of the week, it's Cece, the assistant, is trying to keep Azara safe by turning the spotlight elsewhere, sort of.
By scaring her out of the spotlight.
Scaring her out of the spotlight. Yeah. And so that like there's that clear parallel, like, you know, like, and because that's even what Linda says is like, you're in the spotlight. And he's like, well, I can't get out of the spotlight, but I can get her out of the spotlight.
Right. Right.
So
even the compassion that when catching the killer, when Lucifer tackles Cece and Cece says, I was just trying to protect her, Lucifer has a lot of compassion and says, I know, you know, so you're right. There always is a parallel with this, the case of the week. This one, I think what you're saying is that they were pushing harder on it, and it kind of made
it didn't have the structural integrity necessary to push so hard.
Yeah. Based on the universe that they had created of how God works. Yeah.
Although there is something to be said, and some of this I am, I think, forgiving of things with the Lucifer character because of how well Tom Ellis plays him. But there is something to Lucifer being the sort of creature who sticks his fingers in his ears and goes la 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 la.
For sure, that's in character. Yes.
And that is a little bit of what's going on. I can almost see him being like, he's lit on this, and he also is like kind of shiny new toy when it comes to ideas and things like that, and he's lit on this like, oh, this will work. So
he definitely has like with the high school poppycock, he like needed that book chapter to figure out his problem. So he definitely does kind of fixate on a specific idea. So yeah, I mean that is in keeping with the character development that we've seen of Lucifer. So,
and I do want to say, him like trying to show his affection for other people to varying degrees is actually really like it touches, like, so with Ella, he finds the perfect shirt for her, like that is
she's wearing it later in the show.
She loves it. Well, I mean, style, like
even
everything.
the what is it called, the baseball with the blue sleeves.
So like he got it in one. Then Bob, the security guard,
whose name he can't remember,
but when he says like, he's my new favorite person, and Bob is like, oh
yeah,
thank you.
And even later when they come up to the penthouse and Azara is, and Bob just looks at him and mouths, help me. That was really cute.
And again, some of that is like the actor playing Bob did a nice job.
He did.
Like, because some of what was so endearing about him going like, oh, was because he was so like, it's Bob.
Immovable. He was immovable. Yeah. Absolutely.
Is that true for Robert? No.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really do like there's something to that too, in that Lucifer has such charm that he is able to kind of like have people feel convinced like, oh, I am special to him, even though I just met him. So
all right, so two more things that I want to share, and then you had something about mirroring that I'd like to make sure we get for the episode. So one is like when they're in the penthouse and Azara says, is this thing a prop or does it really work? And he says, Mozart, Liberace, Elton, I taught them all. And I was like, okay. Like, because we also have seen him when in the very beginning, like there are no pianos in hell, right? So he's like delighted. No, it's not the very beginning. Sorry, it's the
flashback
throwback
episode.
episode.
Yeah, City of Angels.
Yeah. Where we learn there are no pianos in hell. So it was just, I mean, they throw these things in now and then just as like a little like reminder that he's been around for a long time. But it was those three was a curious, it just felt curious to me that those were the three that he threw out. So anyway, that kind of stuck. And then the last thing I wanted to say is actually the last thing in that episode, when after he's sort of sat and stewed watching Pierce and Chloe kind of flirt and leave for the concert. And then he goes to Linda and says, I'm afraid I've made a terrible mistake. I know this is my social conditioning, but that devastated face that Ellis gives us.
I know.
Oh, my heart just
want to hug
melts.
him.
I just
I
want
know.
to take care of him.
I know.
And I really do think it's Ellis. It's a little bit the pathos of the story, but it's mainly Ellis's delivery. He just he has so much control over his face that he gave me the precise facial expression that just melted me into a puddle that wanted to take care of him. So I just wanted to like name that out loud. So
oh my goodness, yeah.
Viewers, if you felt that way, you're not alone.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you and I've discussed about how I'm not proud of this, but my favorite Lucifer is devastated Lucifer.
Yeah. There's something
like,
about
it's not really, it's just that that's when I feel most like close to the character.
Compelled. Yeah. There's like a compulsion to somehow try and comfort. Yeah. Which I feel certain is social conditioning. I don't think that is like a, genetic impulse, although maybe there is a little bit. I imagine there is some like,
I think it depends on
evolutionary. There's probably an evolutionary benefit to having people have that kind of compassion, because then the species survives when bad shit happens. But it is strong.
Oh, it is
so very strong with Ellis.
Yeah. So I mentioned before we started recording that on this rewatch, I noticed something that I think was intentional on the parts of the showrunners, which is there's a whole lot of mirroring in this episode. So it starts off with Azara and her backup dancer switching, so they're kind of mirrors of each other, and then the Azara and Lucifer are kind of a mirror of each other. Like the reason why he is so frustrated by her is because she's him.
Just like him, yeah.
She's just like him. And then there's the mirroring between Lucifer and Cece, and that they are doing not the same, because while what he is doing is putting other people in danger in his own head, like, and that there's something kind of not okay about that. Like, oh, so you're okay with Ella getting hurt, but you're not okay with Chloe. That's not okay. But he's never actually hurting anyone.
He's not directly causing anyone's injury.
Yeah. So there's that mirroring. What I find interesting is in the very first scene, when you're seeing the concert, Azara's like logo over top of the stage is her name, and then there's like a mirror image of it underneath of it, like it's reflected in a pool. And I was just like, hey, that was intentional. Nice job. And I like did not notice it until this was my third or fourth
rewatch.
Watch through. Yeah. And so I thought that was really, really interesting. And, that's the sort of thing I can remember writing papers on back in the day.
Yeah.
So, and I was also paying a little more attention to the ways in which Azara and Lucifer are similar. Because I remember the first couple times watching this, I love Sky Townsend, the actress who plays Azara. I think she does a fantastic job. And like, those are her original songs.
Oh, wow.
That she sings as Azara. Yeah.
Cool.
So that I thought was really cool, but I did not particularly like Azara as a person the first couple of times through. And then this time through, I was like, why did I feel that way? Like she does seem to have some expectations and demands that seem a little outlandish, but she seems like a genuine and passionate and interesting and compelling and charming person. So like much like Lucifer.
Yeah.
So and some of it I think is we are kind of led to dislike her by the writing a little bit. But I think some of it is also like some internalized misogyny and some misogynoir on my part.
Yeah, probably. It's hard to avoid. And also, like, I think you're right. The writing, because the former backup singer who does the drag show as Azara and his partner, definitely like give you a, just talk about a mirror, right? Like he mirrors back the negative pieces of the diva persona that she has put on and wears as she moves through the world. So I think that definitely. And then also as like a first time viewer, the scene where she's trying to have sex with Lucifer, it's jarring because as a viewer, you're like, no, Chloe, but actually within the confines of the show, I mean, he could just as easily have been like, oh, cool, perks.
Sure thing. Yeah.
Didn't know this bodyguard gig came with benefits, like he could just as easily have said something like that and it would have been in keeping with the character. But because he resists, there's something, I think that also is a kind of a misogynoir like trope, right? Of the hypersexualized Black woman.
Yes.
So that kind of like feeds into that a little. Now, I don't think the showrunners like did that on purpose.
Wasn't intentional.
And I don't think that actually they leaned on it too hard, because when it becomes clear to her that
he's not interested
and that he's upset, like she has the same reaction we do. She wants to comfort him. So I think that there's that softens it a bit, but I understand why sort of a surface view was kind of like, I'm not sure how I feel about her.
Yeah. Well, and so what struck me this time through is how compassionate she seems to be throughout.
Yeah, agreed.
Because her immediate reaction when the backup dancer is like, she comes running.
She's the only one who runs out to the prone
to
body.
Jill.
Yeah.
And is calling someone, please get some help. And then when when she gives advice to Lucifer, it's good advice.
Yeah.
So yes, she like distracts him so she can go down and get her fill of being in the spotlight. And that's
she
something
just goes to the nightclub downstairs.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and it's also like we are programmed to be uncomfortable with women who seek the spotlight.
Yeah,
like that's part of our culture.
She has to be beautiful but not know she's beautiful.
Exactly. And so like, oh me, no, I couldn't possibly sing. All right. Belt it out. Whereas like she's phenomenally talented.
Give me the mic.
Yeah.
She actually says that, give me the microphone.
And like like that interaction is funny, but also like in some ways kind of priming us to be like, oh, what a diva. But I'm like, why is that a bad thing? And then her reaction to Cece is compelling as well. She is compassionate to Cece. She is very compassionate to Cece, and also like horrified. Like how could you do this? Like and also the when Cece is like, when were you going to give this up? And she's like, I'm never going to give up singing. And Cece's like, not even for me. I'm like, how do you not know this about me by now? And like it's a devastating thing for Cece to hear, but she doesn't say it in any way that's other than just factual and right. It's not insulting at all. And in fact, is delivered with kind of a kindness. I mean,
kind tone, at least. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That exchange is interesting because Cece says, how can you not know by now that I love you? And then Azara says, how can you not know by now that this is who I am?
This is who I am. Yeah.
It was
another mirror.
Another mirror. Yeah, exactly. Of how can you not, that of the language, the language itself.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of mirrors, I didn't think of this until you said it, but at the end of that episode, well, almost the end, when Pierce and Amenadiel are watching, Pierce sees a mirror of himself in Lucifer. Right?
Oh,
when
true.
Amenadiel says, if my brother, the devil, can have that, and then Pierce says, maybe I can have it too. Like, I feel like there's a mirroring there as well.
Yeah. Well, and it's a similar to the mirror in that of Lucifer and Cece, in that it's a dark mirror, because Cain's not looking at like, you know, sorry, I have a cat on my lap. Cain's not saying like, maybe I could also have someone who cares about me. And
no, he's saying maybe I could have Chloe.
Maybe I could have Chloe too.
Yeah.
And that, like, it's a very manipulative, like,
he's a completely Machiavellian character.
Yeah. Who cannot sing. I mean, like, I cannot sing, but I can do better than his dust in the wind.
It sounded like he had a frog in his throat.
I know.
I don't know what that was about.
So yeah, it's I think the whole idea of mirroring throughout is really interesting in how that's handled.
That maybe can segue us into the next episode where there's a copycat, which is a form of kind of mirror, but also not. So in my memory, I really liked this episode because I liked the way they set like Lucifer up as the jilted lover on the radio show. But in rewatch, I did not enjoy it as much as I did in my memory, which is interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah. What didn't you like about it? Or
I think because in the rewatch, like, I'm really feeling how manipulative Pierce is. And so Chloe's confusion, attraction, whatever, is genuine, but Pierce's isn't. And that just feels really yucky. And also, I think, I don't know, there's something about the pathos of Lucifer in this episode, like realizing, well, he realized in the last one, realizing in this episode, talking about mirrors, that you don't get to decide who somebody wants to be with. But also, like, she does want to be with him, right? Like, when he comes to apologize, she's like, you want to stay? I'll make coffee. Like, she does want to be with him. And you and I have talked about why he feels that is unfair to her, that she can't actually authentically give consent. And also, like, it just is a frustrating episode. Like, it's just unrequited. And yet it's not even unrequited. It's requited, but frustrated affection. It's just,
well, and that's, speaking of mirrors, that's true also with Pierce and Kay in 1958.
Yep.
Because he does like her, which you can feel when he comes into the bar
and sees her granddaughter,
and he's so excited. And so like, some of that excitement, I think, could be like, oh my goodness, there's someone else who's like me. But some of it is also like, it's not just anyone else, it's this person. You know, he really did like her, because he did lower his defenses a bit in the 50s. And so there is that, like, frustrated affection that is requited, but just, you know, choosing not to for whatever reason. It does make me wonder, like, if Pierce is, I mean, 1958 is only 60 years ago. So if he's gotten worse, but like, why wouldn't he have, I mean, over thousands of years. Why would the last 60 be so?
Yeah.
Just because he seems like a diligent police officer as of then. He did care about solving that crime.
Yeah.
But
But now he's a crime boss.
Yeah, he's a crime boss who just kind of uses. So I mean, and it might just be like, well, this is what I do now.
Yeah.
And then the way he felt about Kay seems a lot more genuine than what he feels about Chloe.
Agreed.
Although one thought I had is like, don't all these people feel like toddlers to him?
Right. Yeah.
I have that sense, like when I see like a college student these days, I'm just like, you're a fetus.
Right.
Like,
right. Yeah.
You're so little. You're so bitty.
Or just, yeah.
So like, and I always have that problem with any kind of like supernatural story where there's an immortal who falls in love with a normal human. I'm just like, how is that?
I mean, at least Chloe is a full grown adult,
Yes.
like the ones, the vampires where like the 2,000-year-old vampire falls in love with a 16-year-old. Like, no, that's just, I'm sorry.
Gross.
That's pedophilia.
Yeah. But yeah, the fact that it's like he has so much more life experience than anyone he talks to, it just, and okay, that kind of speaks to why he feels comfortable manipulating and is okay, like, just recognizing like
they're going to be gone like that anyway. So
yeah, so I mean, that's kind of like the essence of narcissism. Like, I'm the only real person here because everyone else is dust
in the wind.
Mm-hmm. All they are is dust in the wind.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's understandable that he is the way he is, but it's maybe if he hadn't been that way, he wouldn't be that way.
So I have one like little like picayune question about this episode, and then I want to talk about Amenadiel and Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
So my picayune thing is they find the pastrami boy videotaping out front of the address, and they realize that must be how the killer is getting the address. It's not actually someone from the radio show, but they interrupted him before he did anything.
No. It's he's filming the backup, but he also uploads film of the radio show without things bleeped.
Oh, okay. I thought he went to see. Okay.
So he's doing both, but yeah.
So that's how the killer had the address.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that he did the like when the partner confronts them unedited. But okay. All right. I'm with you now. Never mind. Yeah. So thank you for answering my picayune question. You're welcome. And let's talk about Amenadiel and Charlotte. Like, yes, I think it spans the 2 episodes, right? It's not, or maybe it's all in the one. But Amenadiel sees Charlotte and thinks that she's still the goddess, and like says a bunch of stuff. And Charlotte's like, "Oh, do I know you?"
Yeah.
And then Linda tells him, "Don't like leave her alone, because it's too much." But we the close of that story arc is they sit down to coffee with Amenadiel saying, "I have so much to tell you." So I'm like, maybe this is the test, Amenadiel. Like Amenadiel's like convinced that there's a test.
Convinced there's a test. Yeah. I would say like, geez, Lucifer, can you give your brother a little heads up? By the way, Charlotte Richards is still alive.
Yeah.
So like, the most recent incarnation of our mom, you might see her around Los Angeles.
It's not mom anymore.
But that's not mom. So don't be weird. So yeah, it's that's a good point. Like, you'd think that since he's got his eye out, although that is another in character in keeping with Amenadiel, is he has such sibling rivalry with his brother that he always assumes that's where the test is going to be.
That's true.
Like he's got that blind spot where like, well,
it's got to be Lucifer.
Got to be Lucifer because he's a pain in my ass. Yeah. So, and then there's also the very real grief of not having been able to say goodbye to his mother.
Right.
So I think that it's well within character for him to not tread cautiously.
True.
I also I don't think that Linda gives him bad advice. Like, she's absolutely right. Charlotte is fragile. This could be really damaging to her. At the same time, her fragility comes from the fact that she
Doesn't know what happened to her.
doesn't know what happened to her and has had interaction with the celestial world and cannot process it because she doesn't understand it. So, in some ways this would be
Like a validation.
blessing. Yeah.
That she's not crazy.
Yeah. Which is all she wants to know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I can understand both why Menadiel just verbal diarrhea when he saw her, and then also why he is going against Linda's advice, is he also saw Charlotte's reaction, which Linda did not.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So
right.
Yeah, I know Linda's supposed to be an amazing therapist, and I'm willing to go with the show on that. But her being distracted during
that was unacceptable.
It's not acceptable. And then her accepting help from her client that way, not okay.
Yeah.
So for anyone watching who doesn't know, that is not how therapy works.
Yeah, not acceptable. Not acceptable. I think I would break up with a shrink who was doodling while I was talking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeesh. And it's not when after Lucifer reveals his face to Linda, and she's finally letting him back in, and she's like, what about Hitler? That that's distraction is different, and totally it makes different sense. Mm-hmm. This is completely unrelated.
And it's unacceptable. I agree.
Yeah.
So but let's talk about that dynamic. I don't know if I believe it that Maze would be so inconsolable about not just her best friend, but kind of her only friend. Aside from Trixie, who she also hurts badly.
Yeah.
Not on purpose.
Yeah.
But still. I mean, I know that sort of self-destructive is in Maze's nature. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It doesn't. So
there's I read the AV Club review of these two episodes. I really like them. It's Latoya Ferguson is the reviewer who does them. And one of the things she talks about is how prior to Maze meeting Trixie and Linda, her only friend was Lucifer. And that's not a normal human relationship or friendship. And they have this dynamic where they can pummel on each other, literally physically. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that Ferguson pointed out is that she knows she can't do that to Linda, but she's found another way. So she's emotionally pummeling Linda. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that I appreciated that description of it, because it kind of contextualizes what's going on with Maze, and that it's a pattern that she has, which, yes, she's always self-destructive, but also that when she gets into whatever this pattern is, she just keeps going
until exhaustion. That's what we saw with when they fought.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and even early on in the first season, before she met Trixie and Linda, there would be times where she would bait Lucifer intentionally. And there's one point where he gets really angry at her, and she's like, there he is. That's what I'm looking for. And so some of this is also the fact that Linda will not fight back. So like, she doesn't know how to, I mean, as a demon, you know, among thousands, she doesn't know how to interact with someone who won't punch back. And while
Linda does punch back in this episode,
she does, but it's still comparatively
because
so
it's
mild.
still to say, I did all that because that's how important you are to me.
Like, yes. Yeah. Whereas I think that Maze kind of needs her to be like, you're an effing bitch and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And then she'd feel better. But because Linda is just like, look, I did this for you and you're making me really upset and angry. And like, and it's just, I just, Maze just cannot cope with maturely handling negative emotions. So she keeps spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. So like, I think that that's actually,
I like
done.
that full explanation and context. I buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I buy that.
Because, and this is a hard season to watch of what Maze does.
Yeah, for Maze fans. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it fits with the character. And particularly once I'd read that review. Ferguson's review, that was like, oh yeah, that really does fit. Like if so, yeah, I think that that's fitting for who Maze is, and then realizing how badly she screwed up after Trixie runs away crying.
Right, and that'll just cause more spiraling shame. Yeah.
And that's, in some ways, that's going to be kind of like, I thought I hit rock bottom, but they're still lower. So, and that's, I find I can't watch that scene. Like when Trixie, you see her face and
she runs away.
Oh God, it just, like it's so hard because I put myself in Trixie's position, thinking about like as a kid and an adult you idolize.
The grown up that you idolize. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, we have overthunk it quite a bit. Do you have some fluff that you want to share?
Oh goodness. Let's see. The fluff, when Ella is trying to cheer up Pierce and she took the compliment box around and every single one.
Everybody says he has nice arms. That's all we have to say about Tom Welling.
Yeah, that is. You have nice arms. Yeah, I'm worried we're not gonna be able to top last week or the week before's fluff.
Yeah, right. So my fluff is that I remain unconvinced that there is any chemistry between Lauren Sherman and Tom Welling.
But that's characters. Like they have Ella be the like
Ella is
the Greek chorus to be like they bone.
She's totally the Greek chorus.
Yeah.
Ella is totally the Greek chorus because without that character saying like, wow, it's like flaming hot in there.
Yeah.
We wouldn't see it at all.
Nothing.
So I just want to say like, kudos to our showrunners who recognized that there was a problem and they solved it. We got these two wooden actors who are supposed to be like trying to repress being hot for each other.
Yeah.
Let's bring Amy Garcia in.
And thank you for your service, Amy. I do love the like Lucifer's response is like, the detective does not bone. Like, are you imagining she only makes sweet love, Lucifer?
I was actually waiting for him to say something like that. She makes love. Yeah.
And not with him.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, there's there's more chemistry between I feel like Pierce and Kay.
Agreed. Yeah.
And like what's going, I mean, why is that? Because there's chemistry between Lucifer and Chloe.
Definitely. I don't know if it's Welling or
it could be the the Joey from Friends rule, where like if two actors have chemistry on stage, that's because they haven't done it. But if they don't have chemistry on stage, it's because they're totally doing it.
Oh,
So maybe, not that I want to like cast aspersions on Lauren German and Tom Welling, but
nah, I don't think that's it.
that's
I
probably
think-
not it. But
yeah.
I appreciated that theory. Like, and Joey proved it by saying, have I had chemistry with any actress I've been on stage with? No. See, there you go.
So, oh, so my last piece of fluff is actually quite dense, which is I have a hard time believing that Cain is lugging rocks around the world for thousands of years. I mean, the thing about like they stay the same and they're reliable, like, okay, that's I guess that's in keeping with a 5,000-year-old man, but he moves all the time. He's not like packing up all.
Well, I mean, maybe he just keeps a collection of rocks. Like he's got storage in every city. I don't know. Because this can't be his entire collection either.
The other thing that like I'm really overthinking it here, but they had one of the rocks was like a giant like nautilus fossil, which the creationist story and fossils like they're often presented as binary.
Well, I mean, I think
God created the earth with the fossils in it.
Yeah, so they're God's Easter eggs.
And Cain has.
You crack it open, there's chocolate inside. And it's just on us that we've never tried that.
Yeah. Anyway, that I was like, oh, interesting. They put a fossil in his rock collection.
I honestly found it interesting that he lived in a very well maintained mid-century modern house, which would have been new in 1958.
1958, yeah.
And I'm like, thousands upon thousands of years. That's really the style. I mean, like, and also, I know real estate is what it is. So like, what's available when you're.
He also said, I like it for the view. So
yeah, that's true. But it's furnished in mid-century modern style as well. Like that's the thing that got me is like, it's not the eclectic range of all kinds of weird furniture you'd have if you'd lived for 5,000 years and lug rocks around the world. But I liked it. I mean, I very much like the mid-century modern aesthetic. It's a gorgeous house and gorgeous set piece, but it was just like thousands of years. Also, does he speak every language?
I mean, he must speak many, right? Yeah. I think we're not supposed to think too much about the languages in this show.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you start thinking too much about the language that they use, like it falls apart. Like there's no way that Amenadiel would call him Lucy. Like it would be Sammy.
Yeah.
If it was going to shorten his name.
Yeah.
And I know he doesn't go by that name anymore, but still.
But that's the name he knew him as, and he didn't become Lucifer until after he fell.
Right. But they all call him Lucifer. The goddess, when she came back into Charlotte's body, Lucifer, I must find Lucifer. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. But it wouldn't be a fun TV show for 21st century Americans if they were like speaking Aramaic or some shit, or Sumerian or whatever, Proto-Semitic language. It just wouldn't be fun.
Yeah.
So
yeah, very true. Very true.
All right. We have way overthought it.
Oh,
I really think that we have overthunk it enough for one Lightbringers episode.
All right. Well, I'm going to go find a nautilus shell and see if there's chocolate inside.
Let me know how that works out.
I'll let you know how it works out.
See you next week.
See you next week.